You remember the conspiracy with the Teletubbies?
Yes. How to say this before I get canceled.
I'm pretty sure that what I thought is okay in high school
is not okay.
It's not okay.
Yes. When you speak, you're criticized, and when you don't speak, you're criticized. So where do we go from here?
I want to know who's resurfacing these old tweets.
I want to know too. Come forward.
Hi, welcome back.
Welcome back. Today we're going to discuss work-related topics as well as some of our hot topics. And we also have a toy suggestion for today. So today we're going to start with why people reward innate talent over hard work. Thomas Edison may be the most often quoted with his claim that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. So he used to say, forget talent. If you have it, fine, use it. If you don't have it, it doesn't matter. As habit is more dependable than inspiration, and continued learning is more dependable than talent. There has now been new research that was released overemphasizing the importance of hard work could backfire in many professional situations, thanks to the phenomenon known as naturalness bias.
Well, also you burn out.
Yes, I guess. And these studies suggest people have greater respect for those with an innate gift than for those who have had to strive for their success. And the naturalness bias is thought to operate below conscious awareness, and the consequences can be deeply unfair. In recruitment, for example, interviewers may prefer a less qualified candidate if they believe their achievements arose from natural talent compared to a more accomplished candidate who demonstrated grit and determination.
I think it depends on what the job is, because some jobs, sure, like people switch careers all the time. People decide that they don't want to do something and they decide to do something else, or they add on another job. A lot of people now working 2-3 jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Uber drivers who are also sometimes they have other professions.
Yeah.
So it all depends who's interviewing.
Right.
Because some professions, like there's nothing you could do. Like,
right,
you have certain talents, or you need certain skills, or you need certain determination to get the job.
Right.
Like, I cannot be an IT programmer.
That's true.
Like, there's not. I can work as hard as I can. I can do as much as I can. I can't do it because I don't know anything about it. So if I was to interview for that job, who would hire me?
It's true. I think they mean probably if you have 2 candidates with, like, let's say this lesser one went to Harvard and another one went to, let's say, Kingsborough, right? But they both have the same qualification.
Well, they already can't have the same qualification because the level of education is different.
Well, okay,
one had an associate's degree. One is...
Well, let's say they both have an associate's degree for whatever.
You can't get a Harvard associate's degree.
Okay, let's go Brooklyn College.
They also can. It's a 4-year score.
Right.
Okay.
So Brooklyn College versus Harvard. Okay. So let's say they both graduated, right? And they have their college degree. But one you like more, while the other one, let's say, had, like, I don't know, a bunch of extracurriculars that they did. Or they did, like, some volunteer work in a specific field. And let's say they're more qualified than the other person on paper. But they both have, like, the same, let's say, degree. But the one that comes in that's on paper better, you can't hold a conversation with them. So who do you choose?
Well, if I can't hold a conversation with them.
No, that's what I'm saying. And I think that's what they mean. So, like, some people, I guess, have more of a talent for
it depends. But what if I don't need this person for a conversation?
Well, not a conversation. Just in general, it could be whatever, like, you're hiring them for. Let's say you ask them, like, when you do the interview questions, and you're like, tell me, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things about yourself, and they can't tell you anything.
Well, then I know that they lie. They can't tell me anything about themselves. That they can't tell me about their past experiences or their job or why they are looking for this job or why they think they will succeed in this job.
Yeah.
I can't hire them.
Right.
Because then there's something's off.
Yeah.
Either the resume is wrong, or they don't have the experience they're claiming they have.
But a lot of people don't have the experience. You have people straight out of college going to get a job. But somebody could be better at a job who is less qualified than a person who is on paper looks to be more qualified.
Rare.
You think so?
Rarely it happens. I think it rarely happens. That you're more qualified on paper than
you are in real life.
It happens.
a lot, I think, because it's easy to go to college.
But some people, they look great on paper. They sell themselves at an interview like, wow, you're like,
Yes.
wow, this person is going to take my company to a whole new level.
Yeah.
They're so wonderful and they're so eloquent and they're so great and so smart and determined. And then they start working. And you're like, where did you come from?
Well, that's what I'm saying. This is the person that is great on paper. That's what I'm saying. Meanwhile, you could have a person that doesn't have, let's say, the same amount of experience.
Right, but they sold themselves, not just on paper. They sold themselves during an interview. You're selling yourself.
Yeah.
I'm selling you the job. You're selling me you.
Yeah.
We have to come to terms so we're in the middle. And so you can start working and I can hire you.
Yeah.
So if you're selling yourself to me and I'm not only looking at the paper, I'm looking at you as a person, as
Right.
what you have to offer me besides, the words on the piece of paper.
Right.
So even if the piece of paper is fine, it checks off all the boxes, but you're selling yourself in a wow, yeah, I'll hire you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're selling yourself in a, I don't know, this and that and whatever, and like you just woke up, then I won't rise higher.
Yeah.
But you have the same
Right.
thing on the piece of paper.
Right.
So it's about personality.
Technically, that person that sold themselves has more talent. They're just not utilizing it, I guess.
Maybe. Or they just have a better personality.
That's true.
And better, just they might have been on 10 other interviews. They might have already had a job, just a different job.
Yeah.
And, they picked up things here and there. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I think it has to be a whole package.
There's a lot of people
And that's
think
for where I work.
Mhm.
A lot of other places that are hiring or looking for employees, where you went to school matters. Like the people you associate yourself with matters. Like lawyers. There's a reason why top law firms hire top of the class.
That's true.
And first come the Ivy League schools, then come, all the other schools, and then come the bottom of the class.
Yes.
So there's a reason, because it's all numbers. It's all a numbers game at the end of the day.
But just because somebody went to an Ivy League school and passed the test and got a degree doesn't mean they're a good lawyer.
Of course not.
So that's what I'm saying. So sometimes people on paper, everybody could go to college and everybody could graduate. It's not that hard if you read the assignment and you write the assignment. And now we have like all these new technology that does it for you.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to fail. So at this point, it's like everybody can get a degree and everybody can get the qualification.
Yeah.
Essentially. If you just, put a couple of hours of your daily time to it. But not everybody's going to utilize that talent, I guess, so to speak, of whatever they went to school for or got a degree in.
Right. Also, some people are really terrible at interviews. Yeah, they're nervous. They can't public speak. Like there's a whole array of problems that you have that's during an interview. And those people, what is written on their paper matters.
Yeah.
For those people.
Yeah.
Because they can't do anything for themselves. So whatever whatever experience they're coming with and whatever baggage they're coming with, you have to take that into account. I personally like to hire people as a package.
As a whole.
Although I have been duped. Several times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there have been people that came and it was like they sold themselves and it was like, wow, this person is going to do great things for us and with us. And they're really, really professional and they're great and wonderful. And then a month later, you're like, wow, what did I get myself into?
Yeah.
How do I fire you?
Yeah.
I just hired you, but now I have to fire you.
Yeah, that's happens.
It happens a lot.
Yeah.
And if you don't catch it at the interview, you'll catch it at some point.
Yeah.
It's never going to be like a all or nothing kind of thing.
That's true. And from that, we can move to how to navigate conflict with a coworker.
Yes.
So there's interpersonal conflicts which are common in the workplace, and it's easy to get caught up in them, but which can lead to reduced creativity, slower and worse decision making, and even fatal mistakes. So how do we navigate those? So obviously, you come into a workplace, it's a lot of different personalities, unless you're working from home, which we already said we're not doing. unless it's once a week. But you have a lot of different personalities, and of course they're going to clash unless you know how to navigate it.
Yeah.
This particular article featured actually a story of a woman who had started a job.
Mm-hmm.
And so she took a job reporting to someone who had a reputation of being difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And then
The boss was being difficult?
yes.
Okay.
Well, the person that she was reporting to,
Right.
whether it was a supervisor, it's not really defined.
Whatever, manager, whoever. Yeah. So
And
that person's difficult.
yes. So people warned her that that person would be hard to work with, but thought that she could handle it.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I prided myself to be able to get along with anyone. And I didn't let people get under my skin. 2 months later, I was ready to quit. Elise, the person, worked long days and their weekends and expected her team to do the same. Her assumption,
like Devil Wears Prada.
yeah, her assumptions about what could get done in a day were wildly unreasonable. She often followed 8:30 a.m. on a request she'd made at 6 the night before. She disparaged my teammates in front of me, questioned their work ethic and commitment to the company, and she would scroll through colleagues' calendars and point out how little they'd accomplished despite having a meeting-free day. She vowed to stop caring so much about how she acted and treat her with kindness. In a good week, I could succeed, but more often than not, those lofty intentions flew out the window. The minute she insinuated that I wasn't working hard enough, I would clench my teeth, roll my eyes behind her back, and complain about her to my coworkers.
Was there an HR team?
I'm not sure. Interpersonal conflicts like that with insecure bosses, know-it-all colleagues, passive-aggressive peers are common at work. And it's easy to get caught up in them. One study showed that 94% of respondents said that they had worked with a toxic person in the previous 5 years. And another survey of 2,000 U.S. workers indicated that their top source of tension on the job was a relationship.
At the job?
At the job. Not like, like a work relationship.
Oh, okay. I thought like they're having relationships at the job.
Well, that happens
could
too.
Be a problem.
That is a problem. That's why you need HR. You need HR for that, for sure. And so trapped in these negative dynamics, we find it hard to be our best selves or to improve the situation. Instead, we spend time worrying, react in regrettable ways that violate our values, avoid difficult colleagues, and sometimes even withdraw from work entirely. There was an article in the New York Times, and a survey of more than 4,500 doctors, nurses, and other hospital personnel, 71% tied disruptive behaviors such as abusive, condescending, or insulting personal conduct to medical errors, and 27% tied such behaviors to patient deaths. So 71% were more upset by their colleagues than by people they were treating dying.
Wow. One toxic person at any work environment, at any level, whether it's a coworker, a manager, a boss, anyone. One toxic person in such an environment will create toxicity throughout the whole system. Yeah. So realistically, and if it's your boss or your manager, then you have like, it feels like you have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Because if it's like a coworker, you complain to HR, you complain to your manager, you complain to your boss, things can happen, or you quit. When it's like your manager, your boss, then the only thing you could do is quit. There's no one to complain to. There's no one to help you because other people, I think, won't help you because they don't want to lose their job.
Right.
So regardless of whatever you're feeling, maybe they'll talk about it, like on the DL a little bit here and there, like whisper at the cooler. But outside of that, it's not like you're going to build a team of people and go against your manager. Nobody really does that.
Right.
Unless there's an HR, then yes, of course you can file against the manager.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really not a nice place to be.
Yeah.
When you have a toxic manager, you can have confrontations, you can have conflicts, of course. But when you're having someone who's out to get you, or at least feels like they're out to get you all the time, from dusk till dawn, from dawn till dusk, it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
It's funny because one of my interview questions that I ask during hiring is, how do you address conflict? Have you had a conflict with a coworker? Where do you take your conflict if you're having a conflict? And those people that tell me, no, I never had a conflict, I don't believe them, I don't hire them. They're liars. They're liars right away. The other people who are saying, yes, well, I communicate with my coworker first, and then I'll take it to the manager, and then, see what happens from there. Those people I can understand, and I can see their progress, and they're not going to cause a conflict. They're not going to cause toxicity. However, if they say that they didn't have anyone to go to, then I know that the toxic environment came from the band.
Yeah. Well, there are certain ways to go around that. So one is to remember that your perspective is just one among many. We all come to the workplace with different viewpoints and values. We might disagree on everything from whether it's okay to be 5 minutes late to a meeting, to acceptable ways of interrupting a colleague, to the appropriate consequences for someone who's made a mistake. And it's not realistic to expect your boss, teammates, or reports to see eye to eye with you all the time. So be open-minded. and I think that's important, because everybody, we see each other at work, and we only know the personalities that we know at work, right? So everybody, I feel like, for the most part, people act differently at work than they are at home. And we don't know what people are going through. So maybe their toxicity is stemming from, I don't know, a hard life or their home situation. So sometimes you just gotta say, it is what it is. I feel like...
everybody can have a bad day.
Yeah.
Or a bad week or a bad month. But if it's a perpetual, constant thing, and you're just like, at some point you're waking up every morning dreading your life because you have to go and see these people and be around them. And it's not even the work itself, but it's the people. Well, what do you do?
Well, according to this, and whenever, difference of opinions arise,
that's why all those memes to come up about reflection.
Yeah. All right. So they say most of us believe that we're seeing the issue objectively and correctly. And anyone who has another view is uninformed, irrational, or biased. Mm-hmm. Which will bring us to our next topic of conversation. Social psychologists refer to the tendency as naive realism. For example, in one study, participants who were asked to tap out the rhythm of a well-known song such as Happy Birthday predicted that listeners would be able to name the tune about 50% of the time. They were sure that it would be clear to others that they were trying to convey, but the guesses were accurate only 2.5% of the time. And once we're confident about something, whether it's our ability to tap out a song or the solution to this quarter's budget shortfall, we find it hard to imagine that others won't see it the same way. We all have our opinions.
Yeah.
Sometimes we should either, discuss it with HR or Brenda.
Yeah, Brenda can always help you.
So the next thing that you would have to do in this situation is be aware of your biases. And biases creep into all sorts of workplace interactions. And one common derailer for colleagues' relationship is fundamental attribution error, an inclination to assume that other people's behavior has more to do with their personality than with the situation, while believing the opposite of oneself.
That makes sense.
So it's kind of like what I was saying. So sometimes you have to dive in and see why you're reacting that way to a person, because whatever it may be, it could be.
You've never been around someone who irritates you?
Of course
that just irritates you. They didn't do anything. They didn't say anything. They just irritate you. Like everything. Like the minute they open their mouth, they start to irritate you. The way they sit, the way they talk, the way they walk, the way they sip their coffee in the morning. No?
I have.
Oh, okay.
But not for any...
So what are you going to reflect on them?
Why
they irritate you?
Yes.
You don't even know them. Like you said, you don't even know them, but they irritate you.
Well, no, I feel like, no, you have to know them.
It's an aura. People give off auras. They give off bias. They give off... they give off all these things, right?
Yeah.
So, you are picking these things up and processing them on a subconscious level, on psychologically, right? You're processing all these things, all the vibes, all the little things that you can't even it's not something you could see or smell or hear, right? But your body's still reacting. So,
But it has to be for some particular reason.
how can you reflect?
Why? But it has to be a reason
They don't
why.
smell good.
That well, but I mean that's
to you. They don't smell.
well, if they're not
good.
using deodorant, let's.
No, you don't like their perfume.
I wouldn't be irritated by that.
Really?
Yeah.
I would be so irritated.
No.
My head would start hurting.
Yeah, no, that doesn't bother me. I mean, unless they're like sitting directly like next to me.
Yeah, like this. Imagine another.
So you're trying to say you don't like my perfume? No, but I don't think. I mean,
Not
like.
at all. But I've had these situations where I don't know the person, and I could have met them for the first time or the 10th time, whatever. But I don't really know them. But they irritate me. Like, they irritate me. Like, I don't want to get to know them. I don't want them around me. I don't want to be around
But
them.
there's something that causes.
And they can be very nice people.
But maybe there's something.
Yeah, the part of the perfume they're wearing.
Okay, so our
Hot
topic is cancel culture versus accountability. And what is cancel culture? It refers to the social practice of publicly calling out, criticizing, and often boycotting individuals, organizations, or public figures, typically online, for behaviors or statements considered offensive, harmful, or problematic. And this often involves public shaming, calls for accountability, loss of opportunities, and critics argue that cancel culture can lead to mob mentality, lack of due process, and permanent reputation damage, while supporters see it as a tool for holding people accountable, especially when traditional systems fail to do so. And then we have, so we did a little comparison between accountability and cancel culture. So the definition of cancel culture is public shaming or boycotting someone for perceived wrongdoing versus accountability, which is taking responsibility and making amends for one's actions. And the tone and approach of cancel culture is often harsh, punitive, and viral, whereas accountability is constructive, solution-focused, and measured. And the platform usually plays out on social media and or public groups for cancel culture, while accountability often occurs in private, formal, or institutional settings. The goal of cancel culture is to punish or remove the person from a platform or position, whereas accountability encourages growth, learning, and corrective action. The process of cancel culture is fast, emotionally charged, little room for defense, where accountability allows for explanation, reflection, and change. The end result is, with cancel culture, reputation damage, job loss, or social exclusion, and accountability is restored trust through meaningful actions or restitution. For power dynamics, cancel culture can be led by public opinion or outrage mobs, where accountability typically involves clear standards or codes of conduct.
So where do you stand?
In terms of cancel culture? Or
Oh.
I think cancel culture is crazy. How to say this before I get canceled. I think that we're very sensitive. We've become very sensitive as a culture recently. Society. Very sensitive that everything that is said is just misconstrued, twisted. And I think social media plays a huge part in it because they take snippets of what a person said and throw it in, and it's like, that's it, this person, they said something terrible, let's take them out, and they're just removed altogether. And I think that that's crazy because people say things, and like, I don't know, I speak and I don't think a lot of the times before I speak.
And kind of people say things because of the time frame they're in. Mm-hmm. Somebody can be in a time frame where they're upset or they're mad or they're angry. So they spew something out. Yeah. And then the next day, and this is where accountability comes from, the next day they can apologize for it. They can recognize that it was wrong. They can reflect on how it affected other people and figure out how to make the situation better. Right. Whereas cancel culture, you're just like, it's like hooks. It's like getting caught on hooks. Yeah. And that's it. It's like in a web, like bugs in a spider web. Like you just in there. A bug didn't mean to fly on the spider web. Right. It was an accident. Right. So accidents do happen. You can say something that you don't think about. Right. You can say something that you didn't process. You can say something because of the way you're feeling or reacting. So a lot of these things are said in reaction as well. Yeah. So you're just caught in this web. Yeah. And you don't even have a chance or an opportunity to be like, okay, listen, I didn't mean that. Or I'm sorry I said that.
Right.
Or, I thought about it and I shouldn't have said that. There's none of that. It's
Right.
like, that's it.
It's like, yeah, you're out and that's it.
And who decides you're out? Who are these people?
And again, I think that if you don't agree with something that somebody's saying or doing or their way of lifestyle, then just don't watch them and don't tune in. If it's a celebrity, don't follow them. That's it. Like, why do you have to go and intentionally they want to ruin somebody's life.
Right.
And that's it. That's point blank, period. And I think
But how does it help you?
It doesn't help you. I think that people who are kind of like so invested in this cancel culture are perhaps miserable themselves, and they need that source of entertainment to put somebody else down. And it makes them feel better about themselves.
Yes, I agree. I don't see the benefits.
Yeah.
I see the benefits in taking accountability or demanding somebody takes accountability or asking somebody to take accountability and to reflect on what they're saying, on what they're doing, of what they're thinking. I don't see it being constructive any other way.
Yeah. No, and I agree.
And you can agree and disagree on topics. I mean, everybody has opinions.
Yeah.
We're not sheep.
Right.
We're not.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Some of us that watch, the news become sheep, but we're not sheep.
Right.
But for some reason, today, everybody wants to be a sheep.
Right.
You hear something, you see something, and then
everybody wants to conform, and they like the rest, like the masses. So if one person is if a group of people, and again, this is like a mob mentality. So if a group of people is for this particular thing, you start thinking like, wow, I need to be like that too. Right. And I think that, and again, there's nothing wrong with saying this person is wrong and we want to have them apologize.
This is like
it is the witch. It is
because they had
Salem witch trials.
Yes, they had nothing to go on. Oh, we think, or somebody saw something at the night. She was doing something in the woods. Same thing. Oh, I heard something.
Right.
Oh, I saw
and
something.
Oftentimes things that actually do require attention are not, and then it just gets bad. Like exploited children on YouTube that we talked about last time. Nobody canceled that. That was okay. Why? Because it's entertaining to you and nobody's doing anything. It is wrong to exploit children. So why are we not outraged by kids being on YouTube, underage children being on YouTube, doing all these things, kissing each other on the internet? That's forever. That's not an outrage, but something that somebody said 10 years ago, and we could look at our examples here. Gets taken out of context.
Right.
And
listen, what they said 10 years ago, now they're canceled. On what grounds?
Right.
10 years. You think this person didn't evolve? You think they didn't develop? You think they didn't grow?
Yeah.
You think like you have to catch them on something that was done 10 years ago?
Right. Like,
and if you do want to catch them, then you present them with this and you say, like, you said this 10 years ago. What did you mean by that? I guarantee most people were like, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
And if they do remember and they do know, why not give them a chance to say, look, I was in a dark place. I was not thinking or whatever.
But I'll be a devil's advocate here. What if that's just the person's opinion? And we talk about...
And that's the person's opinion.
We talk so much... Right, exactly. So we talk about so much as a culture, I feel like now, about freedom of speech, freedom of being who you are. So why can't this person be who they are, even if it's offensive to you? Like, why does it matter to you what this person does? As, like, me, personally, I see a celebrity do something, say something, I don't care. I will never meet this person. I don't know who I don't want to know them. I watch a movie with them. They're a great actor. I don't care what happens in their personal life. To me, it's nothing. And, like, it's just, to me, it's insane. I think it's crazy. I think it's absolutely insane.
It is. I think the whole thing is crazy. I really do. I think that we are in a place and time where we don't respect people's opinions. We don't respect people's viewpoints. We don't respect somebody who's different than us, although we're all sitting here saying, yes, we do, and everybody has to be accepted, and everybody has the right to their...
Until they have a different opinion than you.
We throw in this freedom of speech that nobody actually understands, that freedom of speech is not hate speech.
Right.
It's actually illegal to have hate speech.
Right.
That is not freedom of speech. That is not your First Amendment.
Yeah.
Right. But whatever. So we're all sitting here. We're all saying, well, these things. Meanwhile, we're all engaging in this cancel culture nonsense.
Yeah.
I feel like there's
hidden agenda.
I feel like there's fuckery.
No, it's true. It's true because, like, how can you say that you are accepting of people when you don't accept other people's opinions? Like, it's fine to disagree with somebody. You don't have to. Every single person you meet is not going to be your cup of tea. Let's say, right?
Of course not.
And you don't have to engage with them. That's it. These celebrities, like Kevin Hart, for example.
Yeah, we have a couple of examples.
So Kevin Hart had posted some tweets. They resurfaced of that were homophobic from his past. And they resurfaced when he was announced as the Oscars host. And he initially resisted apologizing again because he had previously addressed the tweets, but eventually stepped down and made a public apology. And the outcome was, well, some called for him to be canceled. Others saw it as his willingness to acknowledge the issue and step aside as an example of public accountability. He owned up without
also,
being
why
completely
bring this up?
Yeah.
Somebody wanted him to
Out.
step out.
Yes.
Step down. Somebody wanted this to be leaked.
To happen.
He didn't do this himself.
Right.
Somebody, whoever it was, decided that this should be public knowledge.
Yeah.
Again,
Right.
it was already public knowledge 10 years ago.
Right.
He did fine for himself.
Mhm.
10 years later,
Yeah.
all of a sudden you need to bring up this nonsense.
Right.
But 10 years ago, he's not the same person.
Right.
He's not in the same
The
place.
way, like, everybody grows. Like, things that I was doing when I was, I don't know, 19, 20 years old, I'm like completely different person now. And with and people just don't care.
Exactly.
They just don't care. They're like,
let's think back to what I said when I was in high school or when I was in college. I had a life.
Yeah.
An X amount of life. I'm pretty sure that what I thought is okay in high school
is not okay.
It's not okay.
Yes,
because
I agree.
Even with my own children, like, children are children, whether when we were children or their children, whatever, your children, nothing really changes. But like the behaviors that my children have today in high school are very similar, if not the same, that I had when I was in high school. But yet today, I'm like, no, you cannot do this. I cut school.
Right.
A perfect example. I cut school when I was in high school.
Yeah.
I did. I cut school. But today, my children, if I find out they cut school, it's a whole big conversation. Right. Like, you have to go to school and you can't do this. Blah, 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 blah. But should that, me cutting school in high school, reflect on what I'm trying to teach them today?
No. Absolutely.
And this is the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, for him, it was an example of accountability. So he didn't get canceled, but, and he came out and apologized several times.
I wanted him to get canceled.
Of course. But also, who has the time? Like, realistically, who has the time to sit there and look up and, like, dig up people's past? Why? Like, everybody's now a private investigator.
Nah. FBI and private investigator.
No, and again, it's like, oh, was it right? No. But did he apologize for it? Yes.
He acknowledged that it's not right. Nobody's giving him a free pass. Nobody gave him a free pass 10 years ago.
Right.
It was all acknowledged that this is not okay.
Right.
He apologized for it. Why do we have to make him do it again?
Yeah. An example of cancel culture of James Gunn also had tweets resurfaced that were old. They were uncovered. And Disney quickly fired him from the directing of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, despite apologies and public support from actors and fans. This was widely seen as an instance of cancel culture, a quick, punitive reaction without consideration for growth or context. He was eventually rehired, showing how cancel culture can be reversed when reflection occurs.
Yeah, reversed. Lawyers
just
probably had to get involved.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3 sucked. So probably that's why. I do watch them all, but that one was not that great. Disney did that a lot. Disney is big on cancel culture. I feel like there were so many shows, cartoons, and things that I grew up on that you can't even find anymore in Disney. And it's kind of sad because I like things that I watched I wanted to show maybe my son. Sesame Street got canceled a couple of episodes. Look, come on guys. It's getting crazy at this point. It's too much, and it's just, I don't know. To me, it's like...
I remember when the Teletubbies first came out.
Yes.
You remember the conspiracy with the Teletubbies?
Yes.
That this one was has a triangle on his head and he's purple. So clearly he's, yay!
Yeah.
And then, they're all boys. Why are they all boys? They should be girls and boys. I mean, they're little, they're not even animals.
Right.
They're fictional characters.
Yeah.
How can we identify them as boys or girls or gay or
straight?
They also make noises And the reason that they have shapes on their heads is so children, like toddlers, can identify shapes and colors.
Yeah.
But no, we're gonna go a whole political thing on this.
There was a whole thing I recently saw, and I think it's been out, but it just like came up recently on my feed on Instagram. That there's like subliminal messages inside of Disney movies. So it'll be like right. So they'll have the picture, and it's gonna be like when they have the penises standing up or whatever.
When Lion King first came out, and there's a part where Simba or Mufasa they fall into these like flower things that go up into the sky. So supposedly that word in the sky from the flower petals spells out sex.
Right.
I tried to find it. I could not find it. Really, I watched it. I looked at it. Nothing.
It actually happens to be my son's favorite movie. We've watched it probably like 1,000 times, but I also don't see it. Like a lot of these things, and a lot of it is AI too. Like people now we have more to add to the cancel culture because they're using AI to create these like images.
AI for news.
For everything, right? And so now it's like people are like, oh my god, he said this and she said that. Let's crucify them. So people start, and I mean, it's crazy. I think people need to find better things to do with their time, to be quite honest.
I just think we have to start listening to people, each other, and start respecting that we do not have one brain.
Right.
I have a brain. You have a brain. She has a brain. Everybody has a brain. Mm-hmm. And our brain has a different process.
Right.
And different way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And thinking about things. And feelings. We have feelings and we have emotions and we have various everything.
Yeah.
If we're supposed to accept everything and everyone as they are, why are we not accepting that people have different brains?
And that people make mistakes and things happen. People say things or things get twisted.
Yeah.
So I think that we as a society just need to move on from that.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be like literally left with nothing, right? Everybody's going to get canceled at some point because we're all human. People say things, people do things. Celebrities, it's worse because...
This is why people argue and fight, because you say things and
right.
you think things and you do things.
Right. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of opinions on this, but
sure.
But again, I think that's my personal opinion, and that's what it is.
Yes, and I think that you're entitled to it.
Thank you. Another example we had of accountability, which was the Starbucks anti-bias training of 2018. This was when 2 Black men were arrested in a Philadelphia Starbucks for loitering while waiting for a friend. Starbucks publicly apologized and closed 8,000 stores for a day of racial bias training. This was seen as a corporate attempt to take responsibility and change policies, an example of systemic accountability rather than reactive punishment.
Sure. There was a problem.
Yeah.
You give them a chance to rectify the problem. You give them a chance to adjust, and you give them a chance to move on.
Yeah.
You don't just say, okay, so no more Starbucks. Let's just like throw stones at all the Starbucks.
Yeah. And then we have another example of cancel culture, which is Justine Sacco. She tweeted a poorly worded joke about AIDS while boarding a flight to Africa. The tweet went viral while she was in the air, and by the time she landed, she had lost her job and was the target of global outrage.
Like, imagine what she's supposed to do while she's flying.
Yeah.
Apologize while she's flying?
Well, I think that people... but it hadn't have been said, right? And agree.
Granted, it shouldn't have been said.
But why...
But, okay, let's kill her.
Yeah. Let's crucify her while she's flying with no Wi-Fi.
Exactly. How is she supposed to, like, stand up for herself?
Yeah.
Apologize if she wants to apologize. Or give reason if she wants to give reason. I mean, shouldn't she have free speech?
Yeah.
If we're going to talk about free speech and an ability to speak your mind?
Yeah.
Who's next?
We have Lizzo.
Who's this?
She's a singer.
Oh.
So she released a song using the word spaz, unaware it's considered an ableist slur in some countries. And
that's such an old word.
Yeah, we used to use it in high school.
Yeah, it's such an old word.
Yeah.
It's not even a word anymore.
Yeah. Well, apparently it's a word in other countries.
Mm-hmm.
So after fans, especially from the disabled community, spoke up, she immediately apologized and released a new version with updated lyrics. Widely seen as a graceful accountability, she lists She listened, acted quickly, and used her platform
How
to
come we're not
show growth.
answering the rappers who have the C word every other verse, or the V word, or the P word, or any other word,
Or drugs.
or drugs that's derogatory to women? How come we're not canceling them? They're okay. They don't have to apologize. It's art. It's expression. We're just gonna stick a sticker on it and say explicit.
Yeah.
For her, you know, she offended somebody
With the word.
with the word that's from like the 90s probably.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, cancel, cancel, cancel.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. Sad.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Next one is Ellen DeGeneres. And she had some workplace allegations. Reports of a toxic work environment behind the scenes of the Ellen DeGeneres show surfaced, including claims of racism and bullying. Ellen issued an apology, but the backlash was swift and intense, targeting her personality and past behaviors. And while workplace issues are serious, many critics say Ellen faced cancel culture in the form of personal attacks and career damage beyond the original complaints.
Is that why she moved to Canada or wherever she moved to?
I don't know. Maybe. Well, this was in 2020. When did she moved around?
Right now, when she said if Trump gets elected, she's moving.
Oh, okay.
So she moved.
Well, she was
also Porsche or whatever.
She was canceled, so I guess that's okay. We have an accountability example of Trevor Noah, who, when announced as host of The Daily Show, some of Noah's old offensive tweets resurfaced. Rather than
I want to know who's resurfacing these old tweets.
I want to know too. Come forward.
I want this person on this podcast.
Rather than doubling down, he addressed the criticism, thoughtfully explaining how he had grown and evolved as a comedian. The public largely accepted his response as an honest reflection of change, a win for accountability over cancellation. I personally think we can't even cancel comedians. Like, they are supposed to say offensive things to make people laugh.
Absolutely.
This is like literally what they do. Any stand-up comedy show that you watch right now on Netflix, nobody's saying, oh guys, the sky is blue and the birds are chirping and people are laughing. Like, they're specifically targeting emotional topics and making a joke out of it. And that's what they're supposed to do. So you're taking the tweet that he made as a joke and trying to cancel him. That is just absolutely ridiculous.
It is
crazy.
They make fun of themselves. They make fun of their family. They make fun of everybody. They make fun of the audience.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah. Cancel culture example of Gina Carano from The Mandalorian. And she posted controversial political and social media content comparing being conservative to being Jewish during the Holocaust. Backlash was immediate, with hashtags like Fire Gina Carano trending. Disney eventually cut ties. This is debated. Some see it as just consequence, other as cancel culture due to the intensity and rapid loss of her career.
What do you think?
Well, I think she should. I mean, that's cancel. I mean, you're taking like a huge event that happened that killed millions of people and making comparing it to being a conservative. Since she's not a conservative, that's actually very hypocritical of her, because she's supposed to be accepting of everybody. And for her to say something like that, she's for all of our non-conservative people out there who actually do follow through with actually what they stand for. I think that's a slap in their face too, and kind of misconstruing what they stand for with her words.
Right.
So I think it's kind of like from both ends to cancel. I feel like everybody should agree to cancel her.
But we don't need to call her canceled.
Right.
We could just call her
fired.
She got fired for saying stupid things.
Right.
And for acting silly.
Yeah.
She got fired. People get fired every day.
Yeah.
Everywhere for less than saying stupid things. And because she said these stupid things, people don't want to watch her. People don't want to associate with her.
Yeah.
That's fine. But no, we don't need to lynch her.
Right. Taylor Swift. Everybody knows who that is. And this was about her political silence to activism. Swift was once criticized for staying politically silent during the 2016 U.S. election. She later addressed this directly in her documentary and began using her voice to advocate for voting rights and equality. This transformation was seen as mature accountability, and she acknowledged her silence and took action moving forward. Why do celebrities have to speak about politics?
You took the words out of my mouth.
That is why I don't
It's
understand.
We just had like a little mermaid kind of thing.
But it's
You took
true.
my voice. But it's true.
Why? Like, why does it, and this goes back to the media that we discussed last time. This is just like, everybody has to speak, and everybody has to be on the same page.
They have a big platform, celebrities. So, and they have a lot of power because they're celebrities.
Right.
So I think they need to be really careful
About what
they're doing and
but
what they're saying.
But what she did was stay
But
silent.
also
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with her not commenting on either or?
Right.
What is the problem with that? So when you speak, you're criticized, and when you don't speak, you're criticized. So where do we go from here? there's no in between.
Call your PR team.
There's no in between. If you're in agreement with the masses,
Right, with the sheep.
then you're okay. Regardless what you do, you're okay. But God forbid if your silence means that you're not in agreement with them and or you have a different opinion. That's it.
Well, if you're silenced, people don't know which way you're going, so they're
But
just
it shouldn't matter.
Correct. So they're just going to pin anything on
Yeah.
you. Oh, she's pro. Oh, she's not pro. Oh,
Yeah.
she's for this. She's against that. Blah 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 blah.
But who cares? It's her personal right to vote. Either way she chooses to vote.
Absolutely.
And not have to talk about it. You don't have to talk about it. We talk so much about not bringing politics into things. So then why try to punish her for doing exactly that?
Right.
Because we literally a lot of the time people
Because this
have
is to get her out.
Right.
Because she has a big following and she is a powerhouse and she is,
to children.
yes, not just to children.
A lot of children. A lot of children are what they call Swifties. Swifties.
But not just to children. I think that she has a pretty good round. I mean, like the moms of these children,
Sure.
you know, and the siblings of these children. Like she has a pretty big pool. So I think that they wanted to get her out because the more they try to get her out to come out and to speak, the bigger the audience is.
Right.
So I think that was what was kind of on beneath the surface for her to come out and speak. So they kept poking and poking and poking that she's silent. They kept doing all these things because once she would come out, then we'd know what side she was on.
Yeah.
And then that side could be like, yeah, look at all this that we have, all this power and all this.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you get a huge voice.
Yeah.
I think this is something that we're going to speak about again because it just keeps popping up. I don't think it's going anywhere. Not for now, at least.
Mm.
The cancel culture.
Yeah.
It makes me very
Agitated. Very angry. We need to take a step back and think about her inner conflicts. I guess.
It's something I'm not going to talk about at work, but I'm going to reflect. So we'll come back to this.
Probably often, the way things are going.
We just had that show last week about cancel culture. Now we're having the hot topic of cancel culture, so I'm sure we'll come back to it.
Our show of the week is Devil in the Family, Ruby Frank, who is actually a YouTube sensation for The Perfect Family.
Which we spoke about last week too.
Yes. So it was just crazy.
It was
crazy.
It was like, it started off giving me like the bad vibes because of the kid.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it happened like so recent. So we have like camera footage.
Yeah.
We have sound and it's just.
These are things that you heard about. Like, I think, and I watch a lot of like true crime and murder and all of that. So these are things that you hear about from like a lot in the 80s. Like people come out and children were tied and like they talk about it, but you don't see it. And here, like it was creepy how you have the first footage as the kid.
The running.
Like, yeah. And I'm like, what's happening? So I honestly didn't even like look into it. It was recommended on like one of my Netflix binge watching groups. And I turn it on and I'm like, what is even happening? I'm like, why is this kid ringing a bell? I'm like, is there a fire? What's going on? And I had to rewind it because there was scotch was on his legs. There's duct tape on his legs. And then you start looking into it and you're like, oh shit. And he was like, I'm hungry. And the kid is really skinny. He was like 13 years old, I think. It was insane.
Weighing like 70 pounds.
Insane. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So
honestly, when I watched this whole show, I don't know who was crazier.
The mom or the dad?
The mom, the dad, the psychiatrist.
psychiatrist. Well, this is like, I think
The only person that I was like, wow, like my heart just like went out to her and like bled for her was the daughter.
Yeah. Like,
Because the amount of just hurt in her, and I don't want to say resentment. I don't think she's resentful, but she's just so hurt and so like I had this perfect family,
yeah.
and then it all unraveled. And
But we don't know how perfect it really was. They were saying that there were things like
so that
before.
was yeah. So that was my whole thing, because if you saw when they were showing Ruby, some of the footage, the homemade footage, not the thing that made to YouTube, but like their
it was crazy. She was like yelling at the kids.
Yeah, it was a little weird.
She's like, "Don't touch that," and she's pulling things out of there, yanking things.
Yeah, pulling them. Like it's not really like
No.
very the same.
No. And I think it's a lot with social media, and this is also like ties into cancel culture. We're so swayed by what we see on social media. I don't even think people tune into this is not real. That we think that if it made it to Instagram, it's official, and it's not.
Obviously, and everybody looks like
you see it, but this constantly always comes out with like, wow, this person, oh my God, look at their Instagram account. You could never tell, and it's like because it's fake. It's fake. If you and if you are portraying your actual life on there, your account is private. Your account is not for the world to see.
Yeah.
And if you're really trying to get out there, that's not the real you. It's very, very rare that it's actually the real person.
Who wants to see the real you?
Well,
like really, no.
They do.
Who wants to see the real you? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I feel like we can't be like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened because she was so perfect, because it's fake. And like you said, the homemade footage goes back. The father is sitting there. He's another one. He sat there and he's like, but when you see the footage, he's recording her doing these things to the kids. Because who else was doing it? Not the little girl.
The son.
Oh, the son was filming it. Well, I'm sure the dad was part of it too, because you did hear him speaking in some portions.
The son, even the son said that like he was, and also they made him out to be some sicko. He's really, I don't get when did he become like the sick kid, the son? Yeah, he was like a boy, a teenage boy. Like he did things that all teenage boys do. They don't all listen to their parents,
right? And
sit there in the corner, Bible study.
Well, it's also like a lot of this.
So I'm like very surprised.
This is very like we're talking about.
They needed to get him help for what?
But this is what we're talking about here. They're very cult-like.
But that came. The cult came later.
No, but they were very religious and rigorous, like very, very into that. And then they already had like a little bit of the church itself was kind of like a little weird because they were and that's how this whole let's get this help to tie your child to bed.
She was a weirdo also.
She was
psychologist.
But I don't know, and this goes back to like as a parent, I could not. I don't know what would possess you. I mean, like mental instability. I mean, she did have a lot of kids, so maybe it was like the whole hormones. Well, whatever. But it's a lot for some people. I only have one. To you, it's like what's one more? But to me,
no. But the two older ones, the ones that are emancipated, and the two little ones that she finds,
right? But it's okay. Before still
one in the middle.
I don't remember. I know there was one that they didn't show. I think I'm not sure.
They didn't show the girl.
As a parent, I don't know what possesses you to even want to
4 or 5 doesn't matter
that to your child. Like and the father, but the father was made to be a victim of her on the show. I feel like they were like he spoke out. He was like, yeah, I didn't know what to do. You saw what she was doing with you there. What do you think she's doing to your children?
Right. If you tell your husband, take your things and get out, don't come here for a year, and don't call any of the children.
We're doing an exorcism.
What kind of a man would be like, okay, and this is exactly what I did. And they show his like lonely little hotel room where he sat for a year.
Crazy.
Did not call his children. Why are you not calling your children? Fine. She told you not to call her. Okay, don't call her. Why are you not calling your children?
No, it's crazy. Insane.
Not to mention that 2 of them are not living with her. They're in college. What do you think? They're going to call her and be like, Dad, call?
Yeah.
And they're grown-ups. Why are you not calling your children?
And the daughter couldn't even communicate with anybody.
Yeah, she kicked out the daughter out of the family. What is that?
She's nuts. Crazy.
Who was more crazier there than I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
They're all crazy.
The only one is like the daughter.
But then she was normal.
That she went to college. She was like, okay.
She's like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, basically. That's
Yeah.
exactly what she said. She's like,
I think her getting kicked out was probably the best thing for her. That was the best thing that mother did for her children.
yeah. And then the son, she kicked out the son too.
Yeah.
And then the son had to live away. He couldn't live with the dad, although they got kicked out together.
Insane.
But they couldn't live together. I mean, like, who made up these rules?
She did. And, well,
No,
allegedly the
psychologist.
psychologist did. She was another type of crazy. She was like the serial killer type.
She was batshit crazy.
Yeah.
That whole house.
But how do you listen to that?
But the whole house in the middle of nowhere, in the
Right.
like it was like in the
Like, it looked like it was right?
It
was like carved in.
Yeah, it looked like it was like in the volcanic crater.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Like the whole thing.
And the room, which was like, oh, there's no children here. And then there's the whole room, like,
No,
crazy.
the panic room
The panic
with
room,
the
yeah.
food and everything else. Yeah. But also like on the house, when the dad came back to the house with the pots and the pans and the sponges and all that. That's already when she went crazy.
Yeah.
But what happened before she went crazy? She didn't wake up crazy.
Right.
Like somebody missed a sign somewhere.
I think the dad was blinded.
By what?
By love.
Oh,
He was blinded by whatever it was. Because he did talk about how much he loved her and he still wants to wait for her to get out of
except
prison.
Now he filed for divorce. After the Netflix show came out, he filed for divorce.
Well, yeah, because everybody was probably like, cancel him now. So he was like, I don't want to be canceled yet.
I'm gonna do another season.
He's like, I'm going to take accountability and divorce her. And there he is. He's going to come out with his own show. You'll see, or a book deal.
Obviously,
About
he's gonna
living
have
with
a
her.
book deal.
And he's going to write it about living with her. So after that whole show where everybody, like, you cannot watch it and be like, oh, I feel bad for the dad. So, like, everybody's probably like, oh, what the hell? And he watched it and he's probably like, wow, I effed up.
Yeah.
And so then he's like, okay, let me divorce her now. But he was just saying, I would wait for her forever. So I think he was blinded, I guess, by love and I don't know. And just obsession. He was crazy too. The way that if somebody, I don't care who you are, if you touch my child, I will not ever think of you in any good way ever. So for him to sit there after she tortured his children, be like, I love you forever, you're the love of my life still, is insane. So that means he was gone, she was gone, and together they met another gone person who just exploded the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And and I don't even look, she was obviously smart. She exploited them. She knew what she was doing. She
lost her. She was a psychiatrist, a psychologist, but she lost that. And she also has children. Where are they?
Probably emancipated, I would assume.
And this whole like cult that she has, where is this?
In the panic room.
No, but why are there no other people?
I don't know.
There was only the neighbors from the new house, from the big house.
Yeah.
The ones that were like, these people are weirdos.
Yeah.
And then there was the neighbors that the daughter went to.
Mm-hmm.
That like kind of took the daughter in.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no other people.
Well, did you see it was like in the middle of the desert?
No. Her house is in the middle of
whatever.
They're living in this like fence community. That's where all the neighbors are coming from.
No, but the kid escaped from the crater.
Yes.
And where he went also looked like a little community. So like I don't know how far he walked. It must have been a lot, but like yeah, it was super weird. Super weird. I don't know.
It left me with a lot of questions.
That one is not even, I know, a really bad documentary. That's even worse to watch.
What?
The Gabriel Fernandez.
No, we'll talk about this later.
Okay.
But this really left me with a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I couldn't like shake it.
Mm.
Like even the next morning, I couldn't shake it.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop like thinking about it. I couldn't stop seeing the little kid with the tape. I literally I could close my eyes and see the kid running with the tape.
And then I want to research where they are now.
She's in jail.
Well, no, the kids. I don't care about her.
She's in jail, and the psycho's in jail. Dad is newly divorced. I don't know. He's doing with
He's single, ladies.
Oh, no. We don't need that. But really.
No, it's crazy. I don't know. I was watching that in just disbelief. I don't know how you do that to a child. To any child. Your child. That is your child.
No,
it's crazy.
She's getting the devil out.
Yeah.
Who put the devil in? I'm surprised that there was like no drugs involved. I think that there was drugs involved.
Maybe.
There had to be drugs involved.
Maybe ayahuasca or something.
Something. There had to be. She was feeding her something.
Yeah. Maybe. The mother? But
The
the mother
psycho.
but the mother
No, the cycle.
giving it to the mother.
Yes.
But the mother was already crazy. Like we saw that there was already abuse.
Yes,
like
but she was like religiously crazy.
that's true. No, but she was the way that she
And
yelled
she
at the
was
kids.
one
She
of-
yanked them off the tabletops and counters. I mean, come on. And filmed it for what?
Crazy.
Why are you filming that?
So now the
No.
dad can show it on Netflix.
So Dad could get famous.
But no, it's a good show.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of like, it's an emotional show.
Yeah, for sure.
And on that note, we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.
Have a great day. Please subscribe.